Bach's BWV 847. Now, I could play the whole thing, and maybe I will at the end, but this is the topic of today, and not necessarily this piece, but the style of Bach in general. How do we learn it? How do we practice it? How do we decide fingerings? How do we work on counterpoint? This topic was specifically requested by Kirsten in my Key Learners Piano Club. Every time members upgrade to level 4, or reach level 4 rather, they get to get a tutorial on any topic they want. And this is one I actually get quite a lot in that group and online, is like, how do we just uncover Bach's polyphony? So that's the first goal, but I will be getting into all the other things I mentioned because, frankly, it's all important if you're going to tackle a piece of this complexity. Now, this will work for any Bach prelude and fugue, and I taught this to a private student once, so exactly everything I'll tell you today, and he said it even helped him with Chopin's Winter Wind Etude. So some of these strategies are more just about how to uncover piano complexity in general, but they'll absolutely apply to counterpoint when you have it. So let's actually start with the fugue, which I'll play a little bit of this. It's been over 10 years since I have. If you haven't heard it, then here's a sample. And so on and so forth. You get this kind of growing intensity, adding of layers, and it becomes, of course, more and more complex the more we go. So let's get right into it. This is a 3-voice fugue, meaning there are 3 individual lines that could actually be thought of as a melody on their own. And at times we are asked to play all 3 of them that have different rhythms, different shapes, and a totally different feel. So here's a great example. Measure 20, you would have 2 different melodies in the right hand, and then 1 in the left. And then when you put all those together, you get this. I'll back up a little bit. Let's see, yeah. And you get this whole mass of sound that's both beautiful and sometimes overwhelming as you're first learning it. What's so cool about it is that though they're different individual melodies, they're also harmonies when you put them together. So on its own, this is just the main theme that we call the subject. But when you combine it with the other 3 things going on, this is a half diminished chord, right? And then a C minor chord, D diminished chord, G7 chord. Now, if you don't know theory, don't click off because you're like, oh no, it's too heady. I'm not going to get that much into chords today at all. I'm simply making the point that the melodies work together, even though they're unique, because they form harmony. And so, you know, if you know theory, then absolutely you should do the analysis. If you don't, you can absolutely still learn the piece by memory and play it well. It's just you'll be a little less informed on how to make decisions on your own. So in any case, here's some strategies on doing this. When we have 3 lines, we want to basically break it down into every combination that you can. Before you want combos though, I definitely practice the 3 lines on their own. So you need to have a good fingering system in place, which we'll cover later in the video. And that means you've got the bottom, we'll just call it B, the middle, we'll call this M, and the top. Now, I will occasionally add in some pictures throughout this tutorial so you can see, but just kind of track with me for now. So, top is everything that has an up stem in the right hand. Middle has most likely a down stem in the right hand, or an up stem in the left hand. And then a bottom has a down stem in the left hand. So you can always tell which one is which when you only have 3 parts because of the stem direction. They're often written there to show you which is which. I'll give you a couple examples. Measure 27, we have the up and the down stem. So in the 5th note there, the E flat is part of the lower one because it's down stemmed. and then there's an eighth rest above it. In the left hand, the stem direction doesn't matter because there's only one point or one part at a time. So if there's just one, it can go any stem direction. But if there's two different notes at a time in the same hand, the direction tells you which of the two voices it is. Definitely learn just your bottom, your middle, and your top all on their own by memory before you try to put them together. And maybe it's just 2 measures at a time or 4 measures at a time. But you need to have intimate knowledge of them as separate units. Then we put them together in separate combos. So we would start with the bottom with the middle. And that gives you your first combo, bottom, middle. So for example, measure 18 here. We will go and say, I'll play just the middle so you can hear it. Now the bottom. Now the bottom and the middle combo. See, and we're not used to hearing this because either people practice hands separately, or often they'll just put it all together and go really slow, and it's like the end product, but very hard to control. And if you've never put it together, like, that's probably going to be too big of a jump. Better to start at a digestible amount and then quickly make it harder as soon as you can. So bottom and middle together, then just the bottom and top together. I'll jump right to that. See, so some overlap and some kind of back and forth in this case. Now that would be B and T for bottom and top. Now we're actually going to jump right to middle and top, which is the one a lot of people forget about. And pretty much anything that involves the middle, a lot of people don't think much about. So middle top is your third combo. And in most of this piece, that's just going to mean doing all of the right hand because most of the second voice is in the right hand. So for example, measure 18 again. In sync. In sync. In sync. See, now it gets harder than that. So I'm going to go actually to measure 15 to show you that sometimes the middle voice will be partly with the other hand, and sometimes it'll be in the same hand. So here we go. And then back to left hand. Oh, actually, sorry, I read that wrong. Now it's still right hand. You're getting the point. Like, you're doing different combos because you're trying to teach yourself what they sound like, first of all. Learning is all about your training and identifying the sound, making a picture of that for your ears, and internalizing that picture. But then there's the physical problem, too, of doing 2 things versus doing 3 things. That's significantly more challenging. So you're just kind of increasing your focus by decreasing how much complexity you're allowing into your practice. Now, okay, you're used to the bottom, middle, bottom, top, and middle top. The only combo left is done to go to all 3. That's where I would go very small, maybe 2 measures, very slow, and just thump through it. Forget musicality right now. Just align everything and make sure you have the right fingering. That's probably enough at this stage. When you've laid that groundwork, then you can start thinking articulation and shaping and dynamics. But if you're not there yet, where you can play fluently without pausing, not even worth trying to do all the other stuff. You do the 3 combos of 2, then you go to all 3, you get it a fluent thing, and then you gradually build longer sections. There I did 2 measures. And then I would probably get every combo of 2 measures. Then I would go maybe to 4 measures, and then maybe to 8 and 16. You know, don't just go 2 measures, 3 measures, 4 measures, 5 measures, 1 extra each time. That's going to take you months to learn a piece, which it's not worth it at that point. Instead, spend a little bit of time internalizing it and then pushing yourself to the next level, which is often about double the amount. because you've already increased your knowledge of it. So now you're just increasing your endurance. That's not as hard to do as learning it in the first place. So that pretty much takes care of the counterpoint strategy. Now we have to talk briefly about getting hand independence when one part of the hand is legato and the other part is staccato. My favorite thing to develop this is to hold a note, any one of the 5. Let's start with pinky. Take another one of your 4 remaining fingers and just go, like, not at the same time, but afterwards, you go lift and drop. And drop it in a way where you spring up so it's staccato. So hold a note, prepare, and spring off. So you're kind of trying to return to the feeling of where you started from in the air. All while holding another finger. Now you have to watch out for stiffness here. The way I don't hold my tension is once I'm holding a note, I just wiggle left and right to make sure I'm totally loose. You can even move down and up. Like basically, if you're in motion, you've let go of that frozen tension in the hand, right? So relax. And between each one, after I release, I remain like very calm, very supple in the wrist here. And we separate the held and the non-held notes into 2 different strokes. Eventually, you'll do it together, where I play them at the same time, but I release only one, right? It's effectively the same thing. We're just, in the first version, we're giving our brain a little bit more time to process and not to get so worried about every little difference. So as I practice, again, back to measure 15, for example, I'm probably going to play 8th notes staccato and 16th notes legato. In fact, I made a 1-minute short on this the other day you can go check out for articulation in Bach. But same idea here. So I ideally want it to be like this, with the connected 16ths and very short here. So something like, see, that part of the hand is held. So the same thing, I would get the held note first, play staccato on the top, and then go to the next held note. And then staccato. And then they're coordinated. And then held note first. And you add the staccato after. See, it's out of time, I'm not doing the right rhythm, but I am doing the right separation of the hand, and that gets easier the more reps you put in. So now, playing them together and releasing one is not as much of an issue. And then you can continue on after that. You know, and we have that clear separation of the touches. So that's how I would practice any situation that comes up like that. Do the held one first, add the staccato next. Lastly, for the dynamic differences, I've said this a million times on my shorts, but speed of the key is more important than the pressure. So if we want louder, you just go quicker, versus if you want quieter, you just go very slow. So if you want a particular part of the hand to come out louder than the other, try to be conscious of that finger sinking in at a faster rate. So for example, measure 26 here. I kind of want that middle F to come out. To kind of grab our attention. So as I play that double note, I'm not just going to throw the whole hand. I'm going to feel like my thumb wants to sort of go a little quicker. Again, not more pressure. Just faster in the thumb stroke. And then the same thing right here. In this F, and E flat. Ba, ba. The way I get that to be voiced is by getting a quicker motion on that thumb. So that can help a lot to bring out especially the inner voices. And then maybe here you want to go to the left hand. So now just quick strokes in the left and softer strokes in the right, or like shorter, more controlled, slow strokes in the right. See, and that was clearly louder in the left hand than in the right hand. So that's just kind of dynamics in general. Like, remember I said at the beginning of this video, These strategies kind of apply to everything. That's why the guy was able to help his winter wind. Because he practiced kind of the same way, thinking of it as counterpoint in some ways. So, okay, we've covered the counterpoint thing. Let's get to a couple fingering suggestions. The thing is, like, I could literally spend 2 hours just explaining all my fingering for the whole piece. I'm not going to do that. What I want you to think about as you're learning something like this is, how does the fingering flow? Not just what feels good on this one note, but does it set me up to do the next note or the next group of notes in a very smooth way? So I'll give maybe just as an example, 3 little excerpts on measure 9, for instance. There's a lot of ways to do this scale. I like more use of thumb because it keeps the flow more comfortable, because I'm doing 1, 2, and 3 a lot. Now, if I used a traditional scale fingering, I'd be using more 4 and 5. But now I'm stuck, right? So if I do that, I'm coming under on D, and I run out of fingers. I don't really like that feeling of insecurity. So in this case, in the left hand, I do thumb under again, and then 3 over, back down to 2, thumb under again, and 3. Instead of using a lot of 4 and 5. 4, 5, 4, 4, 1, 4, 5. Now they both work. There's nothing wrong with either one. I just feel that the 1, 2, 3s give me more speed and control. Than if I were to use a lot of 4s and 5s. So it's not that you're looking for the golden fingering. What you're really looking for is what flows and what gets the right sound. Here's another example. Why don't we go to the lonely measure 22, because I haven't referenced that one yet. And it's kind of tricky because you've got held and released in all sorts of different positions and rhythms. So right here, even there, like, do you do 5, 4, 5, which then sets up the next chord? Or do you do 2, 3, 2, because that gives you more strength? None of them are wrong. I like jumping around more so that I have more control. I don't like the 5, 4, 5. I can do it, but I prefer kind of staying more active. So again, what you really need to determine is what you do and don't like. Literally write it down on paper. I'll often write a contrast chart of, like, I'll write on the sheet music 3, 2, 3, and then above it 5, 4, 5. And I try them both for a day or two, and then I go, okay, definitely the 3, 2, 3 for me is better. Most people get into fingering traps because they don't write it in, or when they do, they commit too early without trying an alternative, and they don't realize that the one they have is actually not ideal. So try a couple options and see what you think. Now, in the double notes, the problem with this 1, 2, 1, 3 is now my third finger is stuck and I'm out of room to get the bottom of the hand, which is kind of pinched and awkward. It's possible, but I actually like 1, 3, 2, 4 there so that I can get the bottom articulation while still holding the top and not be so, like, stretched out in between the fingers. So for me, it would be an easy choice. 1, 3, 2, 4, and then repeat the bottom voice with 2, 1, 2. I'm taking my own advice and writing it in now because I never did as a kid. I played this when I was like 12 or 13, I think. Right, so something like that. Now I don't have to move the hand as much versus 1, 2, 1, 3, which is not ideal. Okay, a third and a final example for the purpose of this video. Kind of complex in that measure 6, just a lot of little weird twists. Well, 5 and 6, really. But there's a pattern. Like the same thing twice, and then a third time it's about half the same. So even though it feels a little weird, I like using the same fingering each time. So like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then 2 over, then a second time the same way. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2 over. Now I start the next one as if it's going to do the same thing, even though it changes. 5, 4, 3, 2, and then I bring the thumb under. So we get something like that. And I think that's a notable example because Bach uses a lot of patterns that have a lot of repetition. Even if they're different notes, it's similar enough that often using the same fingering is the best solution. Now, if it's a totally different white and black key combination, then sure, mix it up like there is in this. There's some of those that just don't make sense to try to use the same as the one before. But many patterns can be exact repeated in the fingerings. So that kind of takes care of that. The next thing would be a couple strategies for speed and practice tips. So for speed, simply, the first thing is make sure you can play evenly before you do anything to try to just naturally speed up. So, you know, if you're like, if it's really messy in the beginning, you're not going to be able to speed that up. If it's very coordinated, even slowly, that's when you know you're ready to actually get to a faster speed. So prioritize evenness of both tone and rhythm. Then when you are ready for that, if you want my full breakdown on this, I've got a video on called something like how to increasing speed in music or something like this. I forget. But it's the idea that you want to jump your tempo a lot and not have perfection, and then slow down and get higher level of perfection, and keep alternating that. So I'm here, and so on, and then I just kind of go, well, let's see if I can get it faster. Maybe it's a little messy, but it forces you to kind of feel on the fly and adapt. Then you go back and go, okay, I'm going to slow down, but try to get it more accurate. But slowing down is still faster than you were the first time because it's easier than what you just tried, but it's like you've just tricked your brain into getting it faster and more accurate. So jump up 3 clicks and have it be wrong, then lower it down 1 click and have it be right. Now you're 2 clicks higher than where you started. Keep doing that. Jump up another 3 and it's messy, lower 1 and it's more perfect. And you keep doing this zigzag until all of a sudden you're at a significantly faster tempo than you started that day. Often I can increase 7 or 8 clicks in speed and remain in the same level of accuracy by using this method. So I would do that. The technical side of what might be slowing you down is just simply not moving your fingers left and right quick enough or in and out quick enough. So in general, you'll get over this faster if your black key fingers are more stretched out, like you're reaching forward, so this kind of thing. And then the white key fingers are pointed more directly down. So right here, see my C is pointed down, my E flat stretched out, and that gets me in the position I need to be in to not have to navigate so much with the wrist, see? Very little movement in the wrist needed because the hand position accommodates for both heights of both colored keys. You know, the black keys are more in toward the fall board here. They're also higher than the white key. So by having 2 different positions of the hand at the same time, it allows me to remain very still. Same thing in the left hand. I have the curved position here pointed down into the key, and I've got a flat 3rd finger. Now I change it. Now I point the 2 and the 3 for this upcoming F minor chord. And the thumb is more flat and stretched out, right? So each one is like a change in the shape. Now, just to prove this works, I would never perform it this fast. But I had a teacher that said you should always play something 3 to 5 clicks faster than your intended performance tempo and make sure you have it under control. Because if you can do that, then your performance tempo will feel like a breeze in comparison. So you should probably be able to hit, I don't know, 160 plus on something like this. Something like that. Now, it's not ever going to be played that way, but... That's crispy. hard to maintain that, right? But if I'm like even kind of good at that, how easy is 120 going to feel now, right? So maybe a little sloppy at it that much faster is okay. But you want to get it very, very close, and then you just way bring it down. That would be a thing. So watch your hand position, train it to be faster ultimately, and more importantly, don't play through the whole piece over and over. Like if you're just working on faster speeds, I would say maybe 2 measures. You don't want to do just one because it's only one position. But if you do 2 measures, you get the position you're on and the change to the new one. And that's mostly where people lose speed. It's not here. You could do that all day. It's in getting from this one to that one. That shift that happens is where people kind of don't lock in fast. So do 2 chords or more at a time at minimum. And then also do little spurts of 2 notes, like that kind of thing, so that you train like little throwy like fingers, like extremely fast, but you don't have the mental anxiety of maintaining that. Okay, that'll help with some speed stuff. The presto is a nightmare. You know, it should probably be at least as fast. Most people don't play it that fast, especially amateurs, but it's presto, so like you do kind of have to get that sweep. I would genuinely want to practice it for a couple days before attempting it on camera, like more than the first measure, right? It's not the hardest thing in the world, but it'll trip you up if you aren't super confident in it. One of my favorite ways to build this would simply be to double tap the left hand, staccato. As you play the right hand notes 1 time, so. That way you're literally doubling the work that the left hand has to do, and when you play it together, it will feel lighter in comparison. You're going to start to kind of go like, wow, it doesn't actually have to dig it out that much. And so on. Let's see. Yeah, it's rough. But that's something that would definitely help. I've used that in like Beethoven Third Concerto. In the hands together stuff, Mendelssohn Concerto, so many times where I have to lock in the hands in perfect sync. That's my favorite strategy. For the speeds of the presto and the adagio, this is a huge point of historical debate. I'll give my opinion. It may or may not be what many of you would agree with, but this is how I think about it. So basically, whatever tempo you choose at the beginning, be careful, because you got to get a lot faster and a lot slower. So don't do what Glenn Gould does, this slow. You'll never be able to do the adagio at that. And he was weird anyway, so let's just like, basically, you never, as much as I love Glenn Gould, you basically can never bring him into the debate of what you should do. Something like, that's plenty fast, because I would like it, personally, if the presto is exactly double of the beginning. Now it's interesting that he ends the piece with allegro, but he does not say allegro at the beginning. So we're kind of playing guesswork here. But I think the 2-to-1 relation is nice. So here's the 8th note. And then that would now become the quarter note because we're doubling it. So like, yeah, it's hard, but like it's such a cool effect when you just snap into double time, like, so. Like what a cool thing to do. And by the way, I added an ornament at the end. You don't have to do that. It's just kind of creative license there. But it's something to at least consider. What I think is more important is the relationship of the presto and the adagio, which I've heard 9 out of 10 people say is a direct relationship. Meaning, let's just go a little slower. That the quarter note of the presto becomes the 16th note of the adagio. Is that right? So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, or 1 E and 2 E and Yeah, that's how I was taught it. So take a whole quarter note, a whole beat of the presto, and make that the 16th note of the adagio, meaning you'll have, for the 8th note, 2 clicks, and then for the tie, an extra click, and 32nd notes are twice as fast. 64th notes are 4 times fast. Then we got 16th, 1 click, 2 32nds, 2 clicks, or 1 click total. So I'll just do it a couple times so you can really hear this. Notice a lot of people miss that, which I just did too. It starts with 32nd notes and it goes to 64ths in that last run. You have to really know it's that F that doubles the speed right here. So that's how I measure it in my head. Here are the 16th notes. You could even put in a little like invisible 16th note grid, which I'm doing, and I'll show you the sheet music here. And I'll tap it in my foot. And then the speed we just played at, the 64th notes, become the 16th notes of the allegro. So there's sort of like a relationship between the allegro and the adagio, and then the adagio to the presto before it. So the whole thing, although they're different tempos, they're actually just basically the same tempo with different values. That's the way I learned it and was taught it, and I've heard many scholars confirm this idea. So. Something along these lines. Now, again, you'll do the presto probably faster. So if you do the presto faster, as it'll be faster, and yet again, faster on the allegro. So just the point is you have to relate the 3 tempos into one. Now, where people definitely differ is how fast the opening should be. Sometimes it's more of like a 2/3 relationship to the presto. So if you want to go, you don't necessarily have to go, that's a little slow. So some will say like, just tastefully faster, right? Not double speed. So I'm just giving some opinions that I've played around with this here and there over the years. I haven't touched it much since I first learned it, but you know, here and there. And I've got friends that have learned it. I've obviously taught it more than one time before because everyone wants to learn this one. So hopefully those ideas at least get you thinking about the relationship of the piece. We covered rhythm, fingering, speed, practice strategies, and counterpoint. I mean, at a certain point, like for a YouTube video, I could probably talk about this for another 2 to 3 hours, but I'm probably already past 30 minutes runtime if I had to guess. So let's park it there. And if you have questions, or if you're somebody watching that's not Kirsten, who asked for this tutorial, and if you want to have a lesson on it, just reach out to me, ap@aaronpetitpiano.com. We can get touch on that, or learning a different one. And if you want to join the Key Learners Piano Club, like Kirsten did, who requested this, just also reach out to me through my email and I can meet with you. We can talk about how the program works and if it's right for you. So feel free to reach out anytime. I will see you in my next video.